Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Full Quarter Podcast. My name is Mpho and I've got Tim here with me. I'm in Joburg. Tim's in Cape Town. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing right. I've got the fan on me, so summer is nearing us, which is very good.
Yeah, it's very temperate to the side. It's just lovely. A little windy, but we can take that for this point in time. But remember, we're a South African cricket podcast that talks all things South African cricket. You can find us on X at Full Quarter Pod on X for any breaking news, any news. Our feed is South African cricket, all the way age groups, all the way to domestic, all the way up to the senior team. So if you want to follow us on a daily basis, that's the place to be. And thank you to everyone who has followed us. We're building a really nice following there. And then also you can subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not already, right? Share it with your family. Let them know if they want to know everything that's happening about South African cricket, men, women, everything, all the way down to domestic. We're your guys. Tomorrow is the SA20 draft. So Full Quarter Podcast will be covering that on X. And then we're going to have other podcasts during the week. And if you don't know, you'd need to subscribe. And then lastly, we're also live on audio on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Just search for us on those platforms and you'll find us. And finally, we do this without sponsorship, not for the lack of trying. And we don't do this for the love of cricket alone. And so it'd be really, we would appreciate some contributions. And thank you to those who have contributed. And you can contribute to the show at buymeacoffee.com/Full Quarter Podcast. It's really helped us. We're in the middle of a rebrand and we're going to get there very soon. And yeah, largely thanks to our fans and you guys who've helped us through this platform and supported the ongoing news and views of that we bring to you every week. And then lastly, you can interact with us by sending us sacricketpod.com@gmail.com an email. You can also DM us on Twitter, on X. Also send through comments on YouTube. We're really good at all of that. And so, yeah, if you want to formalize it, send us a nice, lovely letter. Please do so at sacricketpod@gmail.com. Okay. Any news this week, Tim, before we go into the post-mortem? Because today is all about the post-mortem. There's nothing that's happened this week, right? Obviously, the women's team was announced, but we spoke about that last week for the World Cup. I'm actually less bullish than I was. Every time somebody asks me about this team, I actually I go worse down the rabbit hole. But anyway, won't do that. Cool. So we won a series, another ODI series, Tim. And again, the third match in that ODI series, the dead rubber, was more than a dead rubber. It was a hiding. You might as well. England beat us so badly that they tied the series 2-2. That's how bad it was. We lost by the largest ever losing margin in an ODI history. England put 414 on us. Similar, Australia put a 400 score on us, and we just could not get there. We're just falling like flies on a very good pitch, I might add. And this time, unlike in Australia, I can't blame the bowling. I really can't blame the bowling. Yes, you'll say they conceded 400 runs. That's true. But the only thing that hasn't changed this entire series is the batting. And I don't know, hey. I really, really don't know. Like, England has 370. We lost. Like, it was unbelievable, Tim. Like, as the England innings was going on, I was like, oh, they're going to put on a good score. But it's good exercise for this team to be able to chase scores in excess of 300, because I always believe that we struggle with that. And to be bowled out for 72. Yes, I get Temba was injured, so you had to rejig the lineup. 72. No, man. No. And so, Tim, I sit here looking at you going, is this a series win? Does this feel like a series win?
So, to answer the question very quickly, absolutely. It definitely takes some shine off it, undoubtedly, in the same way that the loss to Australia at the final one did. It definitely takes some shine off it. There's no getting away from that. Absolutely, there's no getting away from that. But I'm glad you touched on the bowling. I don't think the bowlers are the problem today. They conceded 400 over 400, but I really did not. That was, while the game against Australia, the bowling was very inexperienced and very poor for large parts of that innings against Australia. I did not experience that when I watched the game against England. Those guys tried their heart out on an incredibly flat pitch. They genuinely bowled mostly well. I thought Corbin was fantastic. The way that man stands up in a Proteas shirt is exceptional. Keshav was excellent. Dando was good for most of his spell. So I think most of them did the business. I tweeted when England were about 200. I said, then England need to get 370 plus. So if they'd got to say 385, I would have actually said at that time, gettable. On this pitch, where there was absolutely no movement whatsoever, no spin, we would need to bat well, but that's gettable if we bat well. And then we just chucked it away. I watched Jofra, and people were losing their minds over Jofra. Look at that delivery to Markham. That was a long hop. That was a long hop that should have gone to the boundary. The only wicket that I thought was exceptional from his point of view was the Britsky one. Nothing Britsky could have done about that. Bounced so in on him, and really quick and difficult to get out of the way of that particular delivery. But I didn't think it was an outstanding England bowling performance. I thought it was an insipid, lackluster South African batting performance. And if you look at the series, only 2 of our batsmen averaged 40 for the series. Everybody else failed in that top 6. And that, for me, is a concern. The fact that Britsky and Markham finished the tour averaging over 40, both got good scores, both got us a large way to the win. But the problem, not just yesterday, but the series, was consistent performances with the bat were not there to be found. That should be a concern of Shukri, not the bowling performance.
Yeah, and the thing for me is it's just a situation of this is what you're going to face. England are slightly inconsistent in doing this, but I can agree. I can bet my money that India are going to be consistently be scoring scores above 300. We can set a score and defend it. Our team is very good at that. It's the same old thing that we've always spoken about. When you're chasing a score that's very hard, that requires you to be a little bit more aggressive, this team falls apart. Nicking wide ones, spooning wide. Vian and Aiden's wickets is, I just sat there going, guys, you know what? Clearly you guys don't want to play today. But look, here's the thing. England had Joe Root, Jacob Bethel, Joss Butler, and Jamie Smith all scoring above 100 runs in this series. Outside of Jamie Smith, everyone else averaged above 45, above 60, 56, right? Root was at 58, Bethel 56 in 3 games, Butler 69. Aiden Markram, the lone South African in there with 135 runs at an average of 45. Everyone else, Matthew Bretsky played 2 games, 89 runs at an average of just under 45. Tristan Stubbs, 68 runs at an average of 22. Ryan Rickleton, 67 runs at an average of 33 with one not out. That tells you a lot. Well, yes, there was that game where England got bowled out for thingy, but still, it should help your average. So if you actually divide the 67 by 3, it's more around the 22%, which I think 22, which I think you should be looking at. Temba Bavuma, 3 innings, 1 not out, 54 at an average of 27. If you divide that by 3, you're under 20. Because I'm not gonna count. I'm counting that not out as an out. No, guys. So yeah, 54 at I think it's 17. And then last person, Temba Bavuma. 2 innings, 10 runs. Really, really not good enough. Really, Corbin Bosch 52 at an average of 52 because he batted twice and had a not out, 32 not out yesterday. So I don't know how we're winning ODI series with these batting stats. We do not deserve to win these ODI series with these batting stats at all. It's unbelievable. It's really, really unbelievable that we've gotten out of Australia still with similar stats. Come to England, similar stats, and we found a way to win. And I honestly think the reason why we're winning games is the bowlers. Lungi has shown to us his value to this team is more than anybody is willing to give him. Lungi's always been a polarizing player. But everyone outside of Britsky and Markram needs to have a very big look at them. Ryan Rickleton's time in the sun is falling very quickly. We forget he scored a double century in December in Test match cricket. And normally that should carry you for a couple of years, even in ODI cricket. But it's looking very bad. It's a very lean patch. Super, super lean. The moment he turned into 2025, it's like the runs ran away. It's like the runs dried up. Temba Bavuma, yes, we'll talk about his injury, but Temba, obviously he's doing one for the team. He's batting at 3, he's not batting at 2, so you can blame that. But even then, we need you to stand up. We need him to stand up. Tristan Stubbs, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what happened the moment we came back from the subcontinent last year, because the moment he arrived back in South Africa, he's been a shell of himself ever since. And it's now going on a year. And yes, in Australia, he had a really nice knock there, but one knock doesn't help. There's 6 of you. You need to have a consistent knock at least once every 3 games or once every 2 games. And so, like, he's sitting there. Devil Brevis, again, T20s for me. I told you all I wanted Heinrich back. Like, I see the promise. I see the talent. T20s for me. I see what he can do. And maybe he's the one you could say, and I'm sure guys are going to come in the comments and say, no, but there's no foundation. So when there's no foundation, you need depth to your game. Just like how everyone else needs to add that 5th gear to their game. Tristan Stubbs somehow threw away that 5th gear the moment he started playing tests. They told him he was a test number 3. Because we haven't seen the scary Tristan Stubbs in T20s. And we're not seeing the consistent Tristan Stubbs in red ball cricket and ODIs. And so I don't know if he's not sure about his role, but it's a little bit weird. But you need depth to your game. You need to be able to go out like it's a T20 or go out like it's a test match or find the middle ground. And like for Deerveld, the depth is missing. It's missing, and I get what he's done at domestic, and I can see that. We're going to go into the same argument as Adam Markham. Too good for domestic cricket, but not that at that international level. He needs a bit of time, and I'm willing to give him time in the side. But I'd like to know what my best 11 is, what my top 6 is, and I think there's more spots up for grab in the way we're going about this on these tours. Just taking 6 batters, giving them free reign in terms of playing, and not bringing in backup batters to kind of give a little bit of competition. Because that, for me, I think is what's problematic with this team. There's no competition at the top for batting spots. Tony Dezorzi is there, but he's not opening. And we've made this ironclad rule that it's Aiden and Ricks and no one else. We're not trying to play Aiden and Temba. We're not trying Ryan and Temba and Aiden batting a 3. We're not trying. It's Aiden must open. We're being inflexible. And in that inflexibility, we're trying to give Ryan and Aiden a chance. And to a certain extent, in their defense, 100-run partnerships, 50-run partnerships, that's what we need. But there's a partner in this partnership who's being carried right now. He can't find the middle of the bat. We don't know why. And that's a serious, serious worry. But we've got guys who can open. And that, for me, is the crux of it all. Is that, like, I think Ricks can be moved around the top order because the batting order, because he's also a keeper, right? So he can bat at 6. Give him another time with us off the ball. I don't know. But we're not adapting to the problems that we're facing, that we have. And for me, Tim, that's my worry. Like, I see Temba at 3. I'd like Temba to go back to open. Temba and Aiden bat very well together. Nice little relationship. Temba bats well on the power play. Just let Temba bat at 2. Aiden can open. And then you can figure out who you want at 3, and you can figure out who you want at 6. But Ricks will play. We know that. Just find him another spot in the thing, because man's out here looking like a shell of himself.
What did I say a couple of weeks ago when I think it was during the Australian series? I said, come 2027, Temba and Aiden will be there opening the batting. Now, that's with a huge caveat of, is Temba fit enough? And I am genuinely worried about that. But in terms of,
we'll talk about that later. Let's talk about Temba's
yes, exactly.
later.
We will talk about that later. We will. But in terms of ability, getting the best out of people, 2027, it should be Aiden and Temba opening the batting. That nucleus of Stubbs, Brevis, Ricks, they can move around. They don't have to, because of their talents, they don't have to be set down on stone where they can bat. They can move around a little bit. They can be a little bit fluid, particularly somebody like Brevis at his abilities. You can move him up and down a little bit. But if you want the best out of where the problem is at the top. That is a huge problem. And if it continues, then we may need to go back to Tony, which is absolutely fine. But at the moment, that Ricks-Aiden partnership ain't working. It ain't working, and it's putting more pressure on the middle order. I just want to touch on somebody who asked a question on our X. He asked, "Where's
Rusty?
Where's Rusty?"
Mm-hmm.
Rusty will be a reserve, if anything at all. If you look at the direction that we're going in, this is the direction that we're going in. It's just about finding the 12 that we have, the best out of them in their best positions. So I don't see Rusty going into 2027. I just don't see it. He's in the CPL at the moment. He's not doing the business. He's not doing the business there. I think it's going to be, your three openers are going to be Tony, Temba, and Aiden. And it's just a matter of who you choose.
And then where does Ricks sit there? Because Ricks is your keeper, right?
Yeah, Ricks is my keeper. So Ricks can bat at 5. And as I said, he can bat at 5. He can bat at 6. I'm not necessarily. If his form continues to fall off the cliff, if he continues to have lack of timing, which he's having a real problem with at the moment, he's fighting his way through his innings. He's trying to find form by being at the wicket. If he continues to not have form and lack of runs, then obviously it does become a different discussion. I think if you tell Shukri now, Shukri wants Ricks there because of his versatility and his ability to hit throughout the ground. He wants to move in this direction. He said basically that that Rassie and Risa are they're on the bench. They're on the bench if somebody gets injured. That's where they are.
Yeah, look, I think obviously everyone's looking at the gaping hole at 3 and trying to fit thinking in. Stubbs is also struggling, and I'm sitting there going, look, Rassie can do a job. And that's my thing. I'm not even thinking about the openers. I'm thinking about just that middle order, right? Between Develt and Rassie and Tristan, one of them needs to be on the bench. One of them needs they both need competition, but surely Rassie can do a job for you at 4. I know you don't want Bretsky. You can move Rassie can bat at 3, guys. We're moving Ricks down. Temba opens, Rassie at 3. Bretsky at 4, and then pick between Stubbs and Brevis for 5, and then you have Ricks at 6. That's it.
Except I get it, but except Shukri wants to move in this direction. He's slowly but surely moving in the direction of South Africa's version of baseball. He wants us to be brave. So we are going to have games where we have these massive blowouts.
Tim.
Like we had yesterday. He wants the nucleus to be of Tristan, Bretsky, and Brevis. He's going to give those three guys a lot of rope. I'm not saying it's right, but he's going to give those 3 a lot of rope. And seeing as we're basically in 2026, I'd be very surprised if Rassie overtook one of those chaps.
Tim, you know what? The only problem I have is there's no bravery. There is no bravery that I've seen in these last 6 games. Quite frankly, this team has been managing the batting. There's no extra risks they're taking. The wickets they're getting out to yesterday were not wickets because they were trying to be aggressive. It's just wickets because of a lapse in concentration. I don't mind you, and to a certain extent, maybe Devil's the guy because he does that. He gets out trying to be aggressive, and I can see it. So maybe he's the early adopter in baseball, right? But everyone else is we're playing ODI cricket like it's 2015. We're just moving the ball around. We're not looking like the way England batted yesterday, and technically the way they batted throughout the series. That's how we should be attempting to go about our batting. But maybe we cared about winning a lot more than style of play. Because game 1, we bowled them out very quickly, so style of play flows out the window. Game 2, we realized that actually the scores actually wasn't par. If England had more wickets in the shed, they get there. But again, if England fell at the altar of style of play, but they still scored above 300 in a very bad batting performance from them. Our batting performance, we're like, oh, that's amazing, right? But then when it clicks, they get to 400. So my question to you is, if we are 2 down after 50 overs, what's the number that we get on a pitch like that? I don't think we get 414.
Currently, no, and it should be. It really should be with the types of players that we have. It should be 380 plus. That pitch is as if you would have pitched
that was dead as a pancake.
That was it. That was the pitch to bat on. That was the pitch to bat on and score big. That's what makes the crumbling so disappointing.
Yeah, and so that's the other thing. The other problem is our all-rounders need to, give us something with the bat. If we're going to play this aggressive game, you saw how England managed the back end of the chase in the second ODI, where even Jofra at 10 was out here trying to save the game for them. Yes, we've got Corbyn, and obviously Billy Shukri doesn't want to play a lot of all-rounders. So you find a situation where I looked at England going, I don't know how we won this series, but they have the balance right. And the only problem I have with England is all the bowlers minus Rashid and Jofra Archer. Everyone else, bang average. Bang average. And that's the reason why we won the series. Whereas our bowlers are stepping up and scoring runs. And I think maybe that's the trade-off that we have, is that we're not going to get to 400, but if we can get you around 350, we can put you away with the batters that we have, because we're not giving our batters extra resources in terms of batting. And that also brings in the Sen conversation, the Corbin conversation, the Vian conversation, right? I like Vian at 7. He scored 367 runs in Test cricket. But can you rely on Vian at the back end of an ODI to score you runs? Man bats at 3 in Test match cricket. The answer should be yes. But I look at Vian and I'm like, I'm not sure.
At this present moment, Marco takes his place and Corbin stays in. Right now, if you're playing an ODI tomorrow, that's what's happening. That's what's happening.
Yeah. And that's the problem that we have. That's the other problem that we have. It's the 6 batters and number 7. And I don't know how you fix it, right? I don't know how you get guys into form. If this is the group that you're picking, the 6 that you're picking, and you're going to try and play them into form, then the fact that you won this, Shooks, is amazing. It's insane that you won this series. But obviously we know why. And the reason why is Keshav Maharaj, 8 wickets, tied with Jofra Archer and Adil Rashid in the series. Then the next 3 players, Berger, Mulder, Corbin, Bosch, and Ngidi, 4, 3, and 2 wickets apiece. If you look at the economy rates, Lungi's at 6.13, Corbin, Bosch at 6 for the series, Vian at 6.48, Nandri Berger a little bit expensive at 7.73, and Keshav at 6, right? And that's what you want. This is what you're looking for, right? And so it's an interesting one because it's so funny, right? Lungi didn't play, but only took two wickets in the series. But it looks like Lungi's impact was just like incredible.
Yeah, he's constantly had to prove his doubters wrong, constantly throughout the back end, the last 2 or 3 years of his career, and he's really, really done it. He's really, really done it. He did it again in this series. His impact is absolutely huge. Without KG there, he stepped up. That was what we needed. We needed somebody to step up with no KG available, and he stepped up. I thought Nandri was pretty good, but of the 2, even though Nandri played more, Lungi was the one that stepped up, which is great to see because we know when he gets going at this format, this is his best format. This is the one that he shines in. So obviously that's great to see. Great to see. We need that.
Has Keshav now solidified the CSA Player of the Year? Because in the tours that you didn't think he'd thrive in, he's taken wickets and he's man of the series in both. And now we're going to Pakistan in October. We're going to India. Do you think Kesh has set it up?
Yeah, no, he set up beautifully. Look, I've said this many times before. I don't really get Sen's inclusion across the 2 formats. That doesn't make sense to me. I thought George didn't get enough of a chance to prove himself. But Keshav is still king. Keshav is still our number 1 in all 3 formats. The guy that we go to either restrict runs or get wickets. He does both. His consistency is on another level. There were obviously doubters, as I said, where there are people like Bjorn and George who have genuine hitting ability, but when it actually mattered, the bowling came through. The bowling guy, the guy that was doing it on the bowling front, stepped up and said, "It's still my crown. It might not be for forever, but it's still my crown.
Look, if I'm Bjorn, I'm a little mad. I'd back myself against Sen from a batting perspective. Even though I think Sen over the long run and across all three formats is a better batter. But Bjorn has shown us the ability to apply himself as an 8, or even higher for the Lions. And I think potentially he might be the better bowler. Especially in T20s and in ODI. So if obviously you're like looking at George and Bjorn, if you're going to go this 2-spinner route, Bjorn has to be given a look in. And, it's no knock on Sen. I just think the frustration with Sen for me is the batting. I just need the batting to click. I need him to give us handy runs at the bottom of the order, right? The ability to clear the boundary is still 50-50, and I know he can, but we haven't seen it at this level. And Bjorn, I think, can do it. If you want to look at left arm spinners or spinners who can bat, there's 3 guys. There's 2 guys. It's Lindards, Bjorn, and Sen. 3 guys, and Bjorn is the one I think needs to be given another run and another look at, because if you looked at domestic cricket last year for the Lions, Bjorn was saving the Lions' ass in 4-day cricket and in 1-day cricket. Yes, maybe T20s, he may not be required because, as Shukri says, number 8 faces 9 balls on average. But of the 3 guys we have who can hit out the park and give you quality bowling, Bjorn's the guy.
I agree. But every time we discuss it, every time we discuss Bjorn, I do go back on the few times that he has played for the Proteas, and I'm going, there's a marked difference between the Lions Bjorn and the Proteas Bjorn. I don't know why that is. Yes, it partly will be lack of a consistent run. That would be certainly part of it. But I still thought, at the maturity of where he is in his game, he understands his game, he's at the right age, he should be doing better when putting on a Proteas shirt. When you compare it to somebody like Corbin Bosch, put on a Proteas shirt, man delivers.
Yeah,
that's where he needs to be. That's what he needs to be doing if he gets that chance again, which he absolutely does deserve from what he's been doing domestically. He definitely does deserve it.
Yeah, because unfortunately, Prenlin Subrian, who's been cleared, well done, congratulations, Pren, he's the off spinner. But it's either you then go with Corbin, Vian, and a fast bowler with your 2 spinners in Pakistan to cover up for your batting, right? And that's a little bit tougher. And that's why you need a spinner who can bat. And Pren, unfortunately, can't. So it's going to be interesting to see how the balance of the side actually works out in Pakistan, because I was thinking about this yesterday. I was trying to figure out because I like the balance of yesterday's side. The only difference is that Corbin comes out for Lungi and Nandre comes out for Kagiso. And you lose the batting at 8. Right? We're not even talking if you're playing 2 spinners. If you're going to go 3 seamers, Marco comes in for Corbin, and you have Vian, Marco, Kagiso, Lungi with Kesh. But if you have to have a second spinner, that's why Sen is important, because Sen then gives you someone who can bat at 8. And so the question for me is, has Sen done enough with the bat over the last 2 months to give us anything? Even in Zim, not so much. And we need more from him. And I don't know, when do you pull the plug? Is it India? Is it middle of the Pakistan series? Like, I don't know. But you need to give other guys a chance. If you're picking a second spinner, as an all-rounder at 8, and I know you're not picking him as an all-rounder. If you're going to pick him as a bowler, is he the best bowler we have? No. Is he the best bowling all-rounder, spin bowling all-rounder we have? Yes. And Bjorn might fight us on that one. But I'm just trying to figure out how it works with Sen in having 2 spinners. I love having two spinners, but I need my second spinner, Sen, or George, or Bjorn, or Prenelin, bat at 8 and give me runs at 8. And I'm not sure. That's the other conundrum of this team. If we're playing at home, yeah, fine. One spinner, 4 seamers. Corbin comes in, Marco goes in, and it's between Marco and Corbin. Vian's in there, and then you have Kagiso Lungenyu. We will walk home. But elsewhere, this changes. So yeah, for me, Tim, that's the thing. But King Keshav, unbelievable.
Yeah, superb.
Okay, and then the other positive out of this was Matthew Bretsky. Obviously, everyone was talking about the record of 550s in a row that ended yesterday. But he looks to have started well. It's not a Rusty level of starting international cricket averaging 70, but to average about 50 and to keep doing it on a regular basis, he is someone who deserves a longer run in this team, and he's someone I can pencil in for 2027 right now. And all you do is you're like, dude, you've got an entire year, just don't lose form horribly. Ricks is going the other way. I thought Ricks was penciled in. But it's going the other way to a point where I think in December, we'll all be looking at Shooks on some, can you take this man forward? But obviously Ricks is a little bit different because he's also got the gloves, and I'm sure Carl is screaming wherever he is on some, just give me a chance. Just give me a chance. So, but Matthew Bretsky, really, really well. Great of him to take that opportunity. I think he was the best batter for us across both tours. And yeah, he did really, really well. And ODI cricket, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's playing the way that Shukri wants us to play. He wants the rest of the middle order to play in that fashion. That's what's happened. And I'm really glad for him, because it has taken him a little while. In terms of performances, it has taken a little while, but I do genuinely think white ball cricket now, he's a shoo-in. He's a shoo-in. Absolute shoo-in.
Yeah. Yes. And then Corbin. Corbin keeps on, I think it's me, I don't know, but I don't want to give myself that amount of importance. But if you guys have any Corbin Boss shares that you'd like to sell, please give them to me. Corbin, we've been talking about this throughout pretty much the back end of last year about guys who spend their years in domestic cricket, and once they get international cricket, they blossom and they shine. But they don't shine at 22. They shine at 29. And Corbin is that guy. He is shown to be a really great death bowler, which was a surprise to me. And what he lacks in talent, he makes up for it completely in effort. He's also the guy who listens really well. You tell him to bowl a Yorker, he'll bowl you a Yorker. So I want to ask you to bowl anything exotic or anything, it's going to give you what you need. Right? He doesn't have the same bag as a Lungi, a Kagiso, but if you're a young cricketer watching, Corbin's got effectively 2 balls, one that's fast and one that's really fast. And the one that's really fast is the one that goes, that's the Yorker or the bouncer. And I like that. I've grown to like it. I think, there's a guy who is going to win games on Gees. He's the guy. Whenever South Africa, remember we used to say this about Temba, whenever South Africa was in trouble, Temba stepped up. This is what Corbin is. Whenever South Africa are in trouble, Corbin steps up. Whenever South Africa needs something, Corbin steps up. If South Africa asked Corbin for a kidney, he'd give you his kidney. If you asked for his arm, he'd give you his arm. I don't know how he'd bowl, but he'd do that because he loves playing at that level. He loves that level. And Corbin, you have gone and changed my mind on you. And I'm trying to figure out ways to kick out other players for you. And I know we don't want to do that, your friends and everything else. I'll do that for you. I think Corbin should be your number 8 going forward. And your question to Marco is, Marco, can you bat at 7? If not, yeah. But I think Corbin can also do a job at 7. And I know if you asked him to, he would. because I've never seen a man bat with so much responsibility. And the thing about Corbin is how we want essentially youngsters to play. Yes, we're like, no, free yourself, but you got to go out there with one singular purpose in mind. And Corbin's singular purpose in mind for batting, and ever since I've seen him, is do not get out and just try to rotate the strike as much as possible. Everything else is a given and it's a bonus, but he protects his wicket well and he gets to the other side. And that's all I need. And then we saw him play the shots because he can bat too. But he's he bats as though he's literally got a few things on his mind. He doesn't have the world on his shoulders. He's not required to be aggressive. He's literally on some, okay, fine. How do I do this? Okay, we're in trouble. Let me try bat for as bad as long as possible. That's what he wants, right? Everything else just falls to the wayside. And I like that. I think it's simple. And maybe some people need to consider simple in the batting order.
I agree. I agree entirely. Look, he's a man who's cherishing every single moment playing for the Proteas with every single cap that he gets. And he's giving, as you quite rightly pointed out, he's giving 100% of himself in every single game. You look at yesterday's game, that must have been incredibly tough to be bowling in those conditions, knowing the ball isn't doing anything. But in those 10 overs, he absolutely gave it everything. He gave it 100%, desperate to get a wicket. He really, really gave a really good account of himself on a incredibly flat wicket. And then he made sure that we stayed clear of our lowest ODI total. I think he deserves a huge amount of credit for that. He made sure we stayed well clear of that 69. No, look, I can't give this guy any more credit. This boy's done everything that Shukri has wanted him to do. Delivered with the ball, delivered with the bat, and delivered with attitude. You talk about how the English dropped heads in the first game. I don't think I've ever seen Corbin drop head in any of the games that he's played. I've never thought, you know what, he's not there today. He's not at his best. He's got other things in his mind. He's 100% focused on doing the best for the team, and that's a huge credit to him.
Yeah, look, and as I said, if you guys have any Corbin shares, please do swing them my way. I'm willing to buy and pay a very, very heavy price to have Corbs come in, to have Corbin shares, because I think he's been as advertised. Well, not as advertised, but he's really grown on me, and that's really well done. And I'm taking him to India across all 3 formats. I'm taking him to Pakistan across all 3 formats. And yeah, not batting an eyelid. And the way I look at it, if I had to rank our bowlers, it's KG, it's Lungi, it's Corbin, and it's very tight. And then obviously when Marco comes in, it's KG, Marco, Lungi and Corbin are like literally very tight. Everyone else after that, yeah, it's a free fall. And he's done really well for that. And the batting helps too. Really, really does. Okay, here comes the big topic. Temba and his injuries. The only good thing about this calf strain is that it's not a hamstring. So it's not a recurrence of the old injury, but it's something new. And what a calf tells me, he's overexerting himself on the field. So I don't know. There was a point where I looked, has Temba moved on from New Balance? Because I was looking and I was like, those shoes look like Puma shoes.
You would know more than I would. I don't know if it's the brands the players are focusing on and their relevant sponsors.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to assume he's still with New Balance, but yeah, they needed to have a look at his shoes because a calf tells me that it's a little bit of overexertion, and maybe because of the hamstring injury, the calf has been doing a lot of work, and now he's got a calf strain because they all work in tandem somehow. I don't know, but that's what I was told by physio the one time I had knee issues. Like, oh no, they work in circuit, and if one is pulling, the other one, so it all must work together. But as I've always said, The best ability is availability. If Temba's not going to be available, it's going to be a problem. Another added problem, and we're going to talk about this, we're a South African podcast, so you must be comfortable talking about race. And don't tell me grassroots, don't tell me whatever this thing. If South Africa go into this World Cup in 2027 without a black African batter, it's a problem. You will not, the gains you are hoping to get with the World Cup will be thrown out the window the moment you come with a team that doesn't have a black African batter. I know there was someone who said CSA can't, on Twitter, who was like, CSA can't play more than 8 lily white players. Yeah, I get him. Just leave him to the corner of the internet. Just think about it optically. Right. And the way to get away from a transformation perspective, and I hate saying get away, but the way to cover all of this, because when we get to the World Cup, we pick up best 15 and everything else, is if Temba's captain of the of the side, it covers everything, because you can always look and be like, hey, Temba's there. Look at the rugby team from this weekend. How many black players and players of color were there? Not that many. But yet, see us there on the field. Everyone sees Sia. Oh, awesome. That's how you kind of cover that. And I'm not saying Temba must play for transformation. So for the gains you need to make as CSA for this World Cup, somebody needs to be there. Be it Tony, be it Sinokwane, be it Temba, be it whomever else who's going to come through the system in the next 2 years, somebody needs to be there that looks like me, more like me, and not necessarily more like Tim. So that's a big issue that you have. And so what Temba presented to us with the World Test Championship, and we saw that the gains of the World Test Championship, all the activations in Langa and all the future activations in all the townships when we do KFC mini cricket, is that, look, he's there. It's possible for you, young black child, to also make it in there. That's how you grow the game. It's people seeing people in there, not being like, ah, man. And that's the issue that you have as CSA. So what's the plan? I'll tell you what the plan is. This is how I'd go about this whole Temba thing. I would, for the next, up until the end of SA20, possibly the West Indies series, have Temba not play ODIs. Temba's in the squad. He's around. He's training. He's the captain. But I'd make Temba play the World Test Championship. I know Test cricket's a little bit harder, and I was trying to figure it out, but I don't want Temba to miss out on the WTC because we have a real chance in this WTC. I'd rather have Temba play in the WTC and not in thing, but on one basis. Muscle injuries tell me that there's an overexertion or there's a little bit more added pressure. Temba and his physios would have to figure out a way in order to, it's not an old age thing. That's the one thing I want to tell you. You could say yes or no. It's just that something's fundamentally changed in the way Temba's training now than before. We need to get to a point where it's optimal. It might be, and I'm not saying he must lose weight, might be him decreasing his weight by 5 kgs to allow his muscles to work. Or it might be him resting a lot more between games in order for this thing to work. It might be that Temba becomes a slip fielder for the rest of his career. None of this running around the field, Tims, and fielding at mid-on and fielding where you become a slip fielder, right? It's things like that that can elongate the thing, your career. But to a certain extent, that's what we need. We need to kind of give him like a 3-month window, and we don't have a 3-month window, but throughout SA20, and if he does get picked in SA20, it'll be a little bit tougher, but if he doesn't get picked for SA20, you kind of want him to work with the medical staff of the Proteas team as well as his own team to try to figure out a plan to make sure that, so the way I look at it is, once you get above 35, you kind of need to become a gym bunny in order for you to survive, to continue. So you kind of have to ramp up the fitness regime, and Temba is the fittest guy on this team. I'm not asking him to do anything else. It just requires a little bit of a tweak and a little bit of a ramp up in the way he does his fitness because his body's not responding as much as possible. If you look at how Faf is still continually being able to play, is that Faf was always at that elite level, 0% body fat level. I'm not saying Temba must get there, but there must be an increased commitment into that, into making sure that the muscles, are strong enough and everything else, so things like that don't happen. So there has to be an increased commitment into the fitness side, because at the end of the day, there's no way we're playing in that World Cup without Temba. There's no way, on and off the field. And Tim's been telling you now that Temba must open with Aiden. There's no way Temba's not going to that World Cup. So it's either you rest him in ODIs up until he gets there, and then you help him gradually improve his fitness. Because I think the issue with Temba is that he's been going hot and cold. So he's been hot and playing, then he gets injured, and then he comes back a little bit too soon, and then it happens again. So you kind of need to give him a little bit of rest, but we can't, because you've got a test match. So the situation is, obviously Temba's got time now until Pakistan series. I think if we're playing the Pakistan Limited Over series first, before the test matches, or if vice versa, if it's a test matches, Temba plays the test matches, and he does little to nothing on the field. Literally is a slip field, right? Then the other thing is, the batting, he'll figure out the batting. And then he doesn't play limited overs cricket in Pakistan. And then in India, doesn't play limited overs cricket. So then he'll play effectively 4 matches, 2 tests in Pakistan, 2 tests and things from now up until December. And then in December, doesn't play for the Lions. If he's an SA20, he can play SA20. I'm not worried. But in then, improved recognition of the fitness to try and get Temba there. It's not a question of anything else, but apart from the fact that I think he came back too soon from the hamstring injury that he had at Lords. And the games we've had in 2 weeks, 6 games in 2 weeks can do that to you. 5 games in 2 weeks can do that to you. So, yeah. But anyway, you're going to have to rest him for some games, or all of them. We know he's playing, so just tell him to go on holiday. Well, not on holiday, but like a boot camp.
Yeah. Okay. That is certainly one way, and I agree with a lot of it. My worry is, and my preference is actually, it's not my worry, it's my preference. My preference is, it's now 2 hamstrings. You said they're different, but they're still World Test Championship final hamstring. This one hamstring. He's got heavy straps on his elbow. He's had problems with his elbow recently. It's a continuation of injuries. It's not one area. It's a continuation of injuries. And that's just something that happens. That's just part of life. At the end of your career, you tend to get injuries. My solution is much, much simpler. And on the surface, people will lose their minds. But really, which is more important? And you've just said which is more important to do. Which is more important? He goes to the World Test Championship final and defends the title, which he has already won, or he goes to the ICC final, home World Cup, and wins us the World Cup. The World Cup is way, way, way more important. Now, in terms of ability, I would rather he stayed with the Test cricket. In terms of the symbolism, in terms of the importance of having a black African batter, in terms of doing a Sia Khaleesi in a cricketing version, it's an ODI World Cup. So I'm going to Temba and I'm going, hang up the boots. There is no Test cricket this year. Hang up the boots. Your body. I do all the tests. Do all the tests with the medics and the medic department. And when they come to the decision that actually it's just not feasible, I'm just not capable anymore, I can't put the pressure on the team, because we're not in that situation where a player gets injured during a game, he gets substituted. I think we should get to that stage, but we're not there at that point. Temba needs to retire from Test cricket. Temba needs to hang up the boots. Thank you very much. And finish on a high, on a home World Cup, winning it, having already won the Test base, having already won the trophy. Let me put it this way. I don't think he can do the two for 2 years. I don't think he can do it. I think he's going to continue to get different injuries, whether it is the elbow, whether it's the shoulder, whether it's the hamstring. I think it's going to be a continuous problem. I think a better option. It's a bitter pillow to swallow because he is a purple patch at the moment as a Test cricketer. But for me, focus on the home World Cup, bring it home.
That's that option's a no from me. I'm not letting Temba retire from anyone. Look, the elbow injuries were injuries because he got hit on the elbow. There's nothing I can do about that. He got hit on the elbow.
But they are heavily strapped. When you see him out now,
yes,
coming from him.
We get that. I understand that, right? But I'm not willing to let go of our best batsman in Test match cricket. I'd rather you tell Temba, dude, just go on a sabbatical, don't play ODIs until January 2027, the England series, when England come home. Right? And you don't have to play domestic cricket. We can pick and choose what games you can play to give your body enough time to rest so that you can perform at its peak. And so I'd rather be like, look, dude, I'm not going to force you to retire, but you got to make some changes. Right? It's not like his hamstrings are shot. He's not guys, we're not dealing with like a marathon runner here who's, hamstrings are attached by screws or whatever it is because, he keeps on. It's a hamstring injury. The only way you can do it is rest. A calf injury, same thing. It's rest. It just tells you that you're overexerting. So there's changes you need to make. Right? And I'm here going, I'd rather that be plan A than Temba retires from Test cricket. And I think plan B should be, Temba, you're already going to the World Cup. Just sit at home. Don't play ODIs. Let Aiden captain. It's fine. Up until the moment everything happens. Because for me, I want to go back to the World Test Championship. Guys, you're killing the dynasty before it even starts. There's no way. No way I'm doing that. I'd rather have Temba's backups. I'd rather have Temba's backups and have a who's going to be Temba's backup for the World Cup and have those guys play at 3 up until we get to the World Cup. But there's no way I'm asking Temba to retire now. He's 35 years old. Yeah, those hamstrings are not broken. They're not shot. Something just needs to change in the way that he trains. There's a commitment that needs to happen in your mid-30s to keep your body at the peak of it. I don't think his body's at 100%. I think his body's at 70%. And he's been giving us 70% because he hasn't had a time to fully recover because of what had happened. The World Test Championship hamstring, that happened. Fine. Good. That's okay. But there was a signal that he wasn't fully ready with whatever. Because remember, he had that niggle just before the World Test Championship. And he was like, I'm going to play. He just needs either for you to give him a 6-month break. 6 months sabbatical. So I would say I'd be okay if he doesn't play versus India and versus Pakistan. Because I think we can still win. Whoa. So here's the complicated thing I have is that Rix is off form, Tristan's off form, Devalt is very new, and Luandre is also very new. And yes, Mr. 367. He could give you a dud.
I get all that. I absolutely get all that. As I said at the start of my monologue, which is more important? Which is more important?
Both.
50 over World Cup is slightly more important for the symbolism of it and everything involved. I would do everything else that you suggested, I would bring Tony into the squad, the one-day squad in particular, and I would play Tony in Pakistan and Sri Lanka and see how he goes, see if we can get him back to the rich rate of form he had a couple of years ago. And do all of those things. I'm going to make a prediction. Come the time of that World Cup, he will have retired from one of the formats.
Yeah, that's T20 cricket.
No. We're talking about 50 overs and...
He's not retiring from any. And Temba, if you listen to me on this, you're not retiring. We'll start a GoFundMe, Temba, to get you fit, to get you the best guys. A GoFundMe to get you to the best shape of your life for the next 2 years. Like, we'll start that is off the table, Tim. It cannot be on the table. That cannot be on the table. I'm not going to Lords not to watch someone else who isn't Temba in 2027. I'm going to Lords to watch Temba repeat.
Why don't you go watch Tony get a double?
No, I want Temba. We go to Lords for Temba, Kagiso, and Lungi. We don't go to Lords for anybody else. We're going for Temba, Kagiso, and Lungi because they represent us, and we need Temba to be there. Representation matters, Tim. And I hate the fact that Temba's the only guy. I hate it. I hate the fact that he's the only black African batter of the last 15 years that could actually keep his space on the side. If we had another guy in there, yes, I would have been like, yeah, dude, retire. Aiden can captain, and you've got this kid, Silitwane, Kashile, Sinukwane. But they're not there. And the next guy is so far away. But representation matters. And unfortunately, for that, if Temba wants to play both and not use your option, it's going to have to change the way he conditions his body. And
but didn't we do this with AB? And in the end, they just failed miserably. Didn't we try to do this with AB? And it failed miserably.
I'd rather lose with Temba in the team than lose with him without it on both occasions. I'd rather fly as close to the sun on this one. Because the problem was you needed black African batters to step up. Tony has. But nobody wants to put Tony in the side. People are asking for Rassie to come back. Your issue here is that, and it's unfair, and maybe this is a result of what's happened, right? Because you only have one recognized black African batter, he has to play every game or most of the games. And that's the issue. So here's the thing. If we did this whole who could back up Temba situation, and we just trialed every other black African batter in there for the next year or so in ODI cricket, happy with that. But I do agree he may need to leave one format behind. And I'm saying ODI cricket up until he gets to the World Cup. We know what Temba can give us. It's easy. It's like what we're doing with David Miller. I think David Miller comes back to the ODI World Cup when he's ready and fit and ready. I don't see the little triumvirate of Stubbs, Brevis, and whomever else continuing because I know David Miller's coming back. You need to give Temba the David Miller treatment. Just be like, we know what you can do. Go and sit in the pastures and make sure that you're fit enough to play. I'm assuming 5 games in 3 weeks. And so that for me is
what's up. Time what's up.
No, there's no retirement.
If I'm wrong, 100% fantastic. It'll be for the better of the team to have Temba in both formats. I'm not saying that I want that to happen. I'm saying the recent injury problems that he's had, that's what I think is going to happen. So just don't get the wrong way around. We are
I know.
a much better.
I know.
Yeah.
The solution is we need to find a better way to keep Temba fit. It's not retiring. That's what I'm saying. But if it persists, obviously that's where we go. But if you're sitting here today in September and you're telling Temba what he needs to do, retirement shouldn't be what comes out of your mouth. That I disagree with. Yes, you're worried, but I'm not doing that. Across both formats, because quite frankly, all the other guys around him can't even buy a run. So I'll take Temba and his hamstrings any day because the other ones don't know how to buy a run. Temba scored me near 70 runs in a final while on one leg. So I'll take that any day because the others don't want to come to the party. So, like, I'll take that risk. I'll take those hamstrings all the way until they snap. And then we're going to put them on again with screws.
Alrighty.
But that's me. Okay. I think we've gone over an hour now. Yeah, look, it wasn't a great series. Look, it was a great series. We won the series. And I think if winning the series is your tick, is your outcome, well done, you got the trophy. How we did it? Yeah. Woo! Yeah. There's a lot that needs to be done. A lot of work needs to happen in the Pakistan series and beyond. And yeah, it can't look like this. It really, really can't. But look, the only good thing that you can hold on to is probably this is the best bowling. We have the best bowling attack in the world. And that will always keep us in games. We just need those 7 men who call themselves batters to score runs. And if they can do that at the right time, then that's okay. I'm happy to sit here and watch teams, demolish us and we score under 100 runs in an ODI like it's 1994. So yeah. Yeah, that's that. Let us know your thoughts on everything. Remember, please do buy some coffee at buymeacoffee.com/full quota podcast. Please email us at SA Cricket Pod. Maybe you've got like a plan for Temba that we can share with him. We can do that too. Or maybe other ideas that we can share with Shukri. But I think the bigger thing outside of Temba's hamstrings is how do we get Stubbs Rickleton back into form? Because it is bad. Very, very bad. And get Devil Brevis that depth. That the great thing I tell my friends about Dale Steyn was Dale Steyn could bowl anywhere in the world. Why? Because Dale Steyn had depth. Dale could bowl, and it's not because of the pace. Dale had balls for different parts, and you just need to watch that bowling innings in Nagpur to realize the depth that Dale Steyn had. That's what we want our batters to have. But at this point in time, they can't buy a run. So right now it's see ball, hit ball, and get to the other side. And up until then, yeah. But anyway, let us know what you think of this series, this ODI series. We've still got T20 series to come up this week. And then the SAA is also playing in the 4-day game. We'll talk about that when the game concludes.
Pummeled.
That's not good, Tim. Well, look, we did smash them in the ODI. So, yeah, it's, yeah. But anyway. We'll talk about that when we come back. Tomorrow is the SA20 draft, so please do check that out. We'll be providing updates and trying to figure out what. I do need to apologize to Corbin Bosch because we didn't speak about him, and I think he's signed with MI Cape Town, so that's another really good player going to MI Cape Town. Matthew Bretsky's probably going to go for a lot of money, so, Mighty Matthew, Money Matthew is what you're going to be calling him going forward. And yeah, let's see how much Aiden Markram gets and Devil Brevis gets, because that's going to be quite a fun one. But from myself and Tim, it's goodbye and the sale. Kakahiso.